Hello again, and welcome to this new edition of Jackie Robinson and the 1946 Montreal Royals year in review. The Royals had a great month of May, but things started to get complicated on the 29th. The team was just beginning a 21-game road trip when Jackie suffered a right leg injury. At first, it was called a Charlie horse, but soon after they started calling it a mystery ailment. They could never really figure out what he had, but he ended up missing 22 of the club's next 26 games. As was customary at the time, reporters one-upped each other, trying to come up with the best possible nickname for Jackie. Al Parsley of the Montreal Herald went with the Dark Hazard right from opening day. Others went with the Dark Dasher, you had the Dark Destroyer, but in the end, the Colored Comet, a suggestion from a journalist from Rochester, seemed to win the day. It's worth noting, and it's probably not a big surprise to anyone listening, but basically every suggested nickname referenced the color of Jackie's skin. There was professional baseball at the Lormier Downs in Montreal during the Royals' stint away from home. On June 2nd, 3,000 fans were on hand for a game of the United States League, a league for black players that had been formed the year before. The league had a club named the Pittsburgh Crawfords, not to be confused with the Crawfords of the Negro National League that had featured Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, and others in the early to mid-1930s, that was loaned to Montreal for part of the summer. They played all across the province of Quebec, and it was actually rumored that the US League would expand to include Montreal, Toronto, and Quebec City for the 47th season. But it didn't happen as the league, which historians don't consider it as a major Negro league, folded late in 1946. On June 5th, Roy Partlow, the African-American pitcher whose contract had been bought by the Royals 3 weeks earlier, finally got a chance to pitch in a game in Syracuse. La Presse newspaper wrote that he didn't add as much luck as his intimate friend Jackie Robinson in his debut. Now, I haven't read anywhere that the two men actually knew each other before becoming teammates, so I guess the reporter just assumed that they became very close friends right away because they were both black. Partlow also pitched the next night in Baltimore, so the Royals manager Upper did for Partlow exactly the same thing he had done to John Wright. Leave them on the bench for weeks, then pitch them in the two most hostile environments for African Americans in the league, Baltimore and Syracuse. And frankly, you'd be hard-pressed to convince me that it was only a coincidence. But fortunately for him, and contrary to what had happened to Wright, Partlow got more opportunities to prove his worth. The season almost took a tragic turn on June 7th after a game in Baltimore. John Jorgensen, a member of the 46 Royals, told historian Jules Teigel that after that game, a crowd of angry Baltimore fans assembled in front of the Royals locker room looking to get their hands on Jackie. Robinson remained holed up in the locker room along with teammates Jorgensen, Tatum, and Rackley until the crowd finally dispersed around 1 a.m. Fortunately for Jackie, the team left Baltimore 2 days later and went to New Jersey, where he didn't have to fear for his safety. He even got to spend some time at Joe Louis' training camp as he was preparing for an upcoming title defense. One of those visits gave us that wonderful picture you're seeing right now, where the two men are trying on each other's tools. Generally speaking, the team did well, even though players were going down left and right. After its first 50 games, the club had scored a league-high 357 points and had a 4-game lead on top of the standings. But on June 13th, its sensational second baseman told reporters that he might need to rest his leg for a long time in order to get better. In our next installment, we'll keep an eye on that injury that refuses to heal. We'll talk about a charity softball game where Robinson almost stole the show from the glorious Montreal Canadiens, and we'll take a look at how Jackie and Rachel Robinson were getting accustomed to life in Montreal. Don't miss it, and thanks so much for listening.